Bill. Well, as you and the audience can see, the House chamber is now filling up with members of Congress and other big shots. We have a guy. His name is Chad Pergram, and he covers the House for us on a daily basis. And we have gotten him into the gallery over there. That's a big deal. He has a microphone which can reach us by radio hookup. And I can now talk to him, and I trust he to me. Chad, can you advise us of what we may not be able to see as we look at the pictures provided by the House?
Well, what I'm looking at right now, Britt, is Lynn Cheney, the Vice President's wife, is standing in the gallery here. It's very quiet in the gallery right now. People sort of standing at attention. In the President's gallery, Mike Pence, Republican congressman from Indiana, went up there a little bit ago to talk to one of the guests that the President will have, Lori Ball. She's from eastern Indiana, Brookville, Indiana. She got some money from the Hope Now Alliance to help pay her mortgage. Her husband had a back injury and so on, and so her the President invited Lori Ball to sit in the box. Mike Pence went up there and chatted with her a little bit. So this is a little bit of constituent service going on very early on. Now Mike Pence is back on the floor, and people are anxiously awaiting the President to come in.
Chad, thank you very much. That gives you a sense of what we all can see. The situation on the night of the State of the Union is that members crowd into the chamber. It's the House, of course, chamber, which means that room must be made for people such as members of the Supreme Court, certain members of the diplomatic corps, certain Pentagon bigwigs who will all come to hear this address. And it's always kind of fascinating to watch where people try to sit. Members of the House of Representatives who on an ordinary day would be tearing the shreds off the President will oftentimes get as close as they can to the center aisle so they can shake his hand as he walks down, because when you do that, you get on national television. And a series of officials will come in there who will be announced into the chamber as we watch and are listening. Members of the Supreme Court are being announced into the chamber now. Perhaps we can watch a little bit of that and even maybe hear some of it. Now these members of the High Court don't have to put on their robes, but you can't blame them for doing so, because without them we wouldn't be able to tell them from the rest of the figures there. You saw the Chief Justice, Justice Alito, both, of course, the nominees and named by President Bush. Here in the studio, as we await the start of this address, this is the President, by the way, 7th State of the Union address. It's year 8 of his presidency, but the first year he didn't give a State of the Union address. Instead, he gave an address to Congress, and he gave a second address to Congress later after 9/11. So he's given 9, only 7 of them officially are State of the Union addresses. Now you see Senator Collins of Maine, Senator Sununu of New Hampshire awaiting the arrival of the President after an assortment of other important people are greeted and come into the chamber. It looks to be the First Lady as she's taking her, dressed brightly in red, as she takes her place in the box with her 2 daughters. It's the first time, I believe, that those 2 daughters, Barbara and Jenna, have been in the gallery to watch this President's State of the Union address. A bunch of us had lunch with the President today. It's an annual event. The President inviting network news anchors and Sunday talk show hosts down at the White House, where he sort of briefs us on his State of the Union address and what he expects it'll be and what he hopes to come out of it. And it was mentioned at that lunch that this was the first time these 2 daughters will be present. The indication was that they hadn't been all that interested until now, and now as they're getting older, they're getting more interested in this kind of cool job the President has.
The President's Cabinet.
Here now, the members of the President's Cabinet. Well, you can see the Secretary of State with the Condoleezza Rice, Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson right behind her. Let's watch and listen to a little of this as we await the beginning of the official festivities attendant to the 7th and final State of the Union address by President Bush. Good evening. You are looking, in addition to this picture of me, which you probably don't need to see, you're looking at a live picture of the House chamber in the U.S. Capitol just across the way behind me here, where in just a few minutes President Bush will deliver his final State of the Union address, his seventh. As we noted earlier, he's given 9 speeches, only 7 of them State of the Union addresses. This, of course, will be his last. I'm Brit Hume in Washington, both sides of the aisle this evening. Interested to hear what the president has to say on a number of the top issues facing our country, including principally the economy. And the big figure in that, of course, will be this $150 billion stimulus package, which has been worked out with the House, but not yet with the Senate. We expect to hear a lot about the war in Iraq. He will be speaking. Last year, he was worried about the problems. You see the Secretary of Labor, Elaine Chao. He will speak of the success of the surge, a policy he articulated last year, the outcome of which was not known, and the final outcome of which, of course, is not known yet. Let me turn now for a few thoughts about this and comments on this speech to our Chief White House correspondent, Bret Baier. Bret?
Hi, Bret. Senior aides insist this last State of the Union address for President Bush will be forward-looking, a blueprint for his final year in office, not a retrospective look at the past 7 years. As you mentioned, he will have a major focus on the nation's troubled economy. He'll say this is a period of uncertainty, but not a time when America is headed into recession. He'll also, aides say, concede that there is a lot to get done. However, this is an election year, and they know that this is an election year. We're told administration officials made a conscious effort not to overreach with this address, so there will be a few new initiatives in education, stem cell research, however, not a number of them. On Iraq, you mentioned he'll tout success of the U.S. troop surge, and will say eventually U.S. troops will head to a new phase in the operation. Now, this will be forward-leaning. Democrats say they can get things done even in an election year, but many top Democrats said today they are most happy, they are happiest that this is his final State of the Union address.
Well, indeed they did, Brett, and as you pointed out, there won't be a whole bunch of new plans laid out in this speech, but the one thing he did say, and in terms of dollar terms, it probably doesn't amount to all that much, but the president seemed to strike sparks on Capitol Hill today when word reached those precincts of a proposal, not a proposal, actually a plan he has for dealing with these spending earmarks inserted in spending bills by members of Congress at various stages in the process. He indicated he wants the spending bills that come to him this year to achieve a 50% reduction both in the number and in the dollar amount of earmarks. And he also outlined what he's going to do by executive order, which is to direct executive agencies to deal with earmarks that go into these spending bills after they have been actually passed. So the Congress, these are earmarks that are never actually voted on by members of Congress, but get into the report language that's associated with these spending bills. He's going to direct the executive agencies to disregard them, not to spend the money. When word of that reached Capitol Hill, and I can tell you I was in a lunch today with, a coffee this afternoon with Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi, the leaders of the House and Senate respectively, or Senate and House respectively, and they dismissed this contemptuously as backward-looking and as trivial. It has been said of State of the Union addresses, they tend to be rather long, they tend to be programmatic rather than thematic. This is the president who is, at least by definition anyway, a lame duck.